Hello, welcome here. Have you ever walked away from a conversation, a meeting, or even a casual encounter feeling inexplicably exhausted, as if a vital part of your inner self has been siphoned away? You might feel a lingering sense of unease, a fog in your mind, or a pervasive sadness that wasn't there before. Perhaps you've spent hours listening to someone's problems, offering solutions, only to find them brushed aside, or maybe you've left a social gathering feeling completely unheard. Your own stories and experiences somehow fading into the background, eclipsed by another's constant need for the spotlight. This pervasive, silent draining of your life force is a common yet often misunderstood phenomenon, a subtle form of emotional theft that leaves countless individuals feeling perpetually depleted. It's not just about physical tiredness. It's a profound spiritual and emotional fatigue that seeps into every corner of your being, dimming your light and eroding your joy. It is the silent anxiety of anticipating another encounter with this person, the mental rehearsing of defenses, or the lingering shame of feeling used or overlooked. If you've ever felt this profound sense of internal weariness after interacting with certain individuals, today we're going to delve into the intricate psychology of what many refer to as energy vampires fae, not in a mystical sense, but through the lens of human behavior and psychological patterns. I'll reveal 3 often invisible signs that indicate you might be in the presence of someone who, perhaps unintentionally, is siphoning your emotional and mental energy. More than just identifying them, we'll explore the why behind their behavior, and most importantly, equip you with the how-fa practical, compassionate strategies to protect your inner world and reclaim your vital energy. This isn't about blaming or demonizing others. It's about understanding human dynamics and empowering yourself to foster relationships that nourish, rather than deplete, your spirit. So, lean in, for this conversation might just illuminate some of the most perplexing dynamics in your life, offering you not just clarity, but a pathway to profound self-preservation and peace. Let's unlock these invisible signs together. Our journey begins now to understand, to protect, and to thrive. By the end of this, you'll possess a toolkit for discerning the subtle currents of human interaction and ensuring you deserve to feel vibrant and energized, not perpetually drained. Let's explore how to make that a reality by understanding these invisible signs that can subtly, yet powerfully, impact your life every single day. The more aware you become, the more empowered you will be to navigate your social landscape with wisdom and strength, fostering relationships that truly resonate with mutual respect. This is about building a foundation of resilience within yourself, allowing you to stand firm and bright amidst the various energies you encounter in the world. It's a journey towards self-mastery in the emotional realm, a journey that begins with awareness. So, let us embark on this crucial exploration. Your well-being is worth it. Our first invisible sign delves into the very fabric of emotional reciprocity, or rather, it's the subtle art of emotional siphoning through a constant narrative of woe. It is about how certain individuals turn every interaction into a one-sided emotional transaction, leaving you feeling like a depleted well. Imagine for a moment, after a long, demanding day, you finally sit down hoping for a moment of peace, perhaps to share a small triumph or simply to enjoy quiet companionship. But then it's a torrent of complaints, problems, injustices, and misfortunes, and you, being the compassionate soul you are, listen. You listen attentively, empathetically. You nod. You offer words of comfort. You suggest solutions. You try to validate their feelings, to offer a glimmer of hope or a practical pathway forward. But here's the invisible sign. No matter what you say, no matter what advice, the complaints persist, the problems remain, the victimhood is unwavering. You feel as though you are constantly trying to fill a bottomless pit with your finite emotional resources. This, my friend, is the first invisible sign of an energy vampire, Phaetha, chronic victim, Fae-blamer, who turns you into their emotional dumping ground. Asterisk, this isn't about someone genuinely seeking support during a crisis. It's about a pervasive pattern of narrative that revolves solely around their suffering, their challenges, and their perceived helplessness, all while deflecting any sense of personal agency or responsibility. Let's dissect this further. At its core, This behavior often stems from a concept in psychology known as learned helplessness. Individuals exhibiting learned helplessness have, over time, come to believe they have no control over the outcomes of their lives, regardless of their efforts. They attribute their failures to external forces and their successes, if any, to luck. This isn't necessarily a conscious manipulation. It's a deeply ingrained worldview where they genuinely see themselves as victims of circumstance, incapable of all. Coupled with an external locus of control, they attribute events in their lives to external factors, fate, luck, other people, or powerful outside forces. They rarely, if ever, consider their own role or choices in the unfolding of their personal narrative. For you, the listener, this translates into a relentless barrage of problems that you are expected to absorb, yet never truly solve. Your empathetic responses are moment here is recognizing that their need isn't for a solution, but often for a specific kind of emotional validation, the validation of their suffering, which ironically can provide them with a sense of identity or even a perverse form of power in their relationships. They are the perennial victim in the drama triangle psychological model developed by Stephen Karpman. In this triangle, there are three roles. The energy vampire, in this context, constantly occupies the victim role. They seek out a rescuer, which is often you, the compassionate listener, to soothe their pain and validate their helplessness. But here is the catch. The victim unconsciously resists being rescued, because being rescued would mean stepping out of their established, albeit painful, identity. It would mean taking responsibility, which they are often unwilling, so when you offer solutions, they will subtly or overtly reject them, often with a yes, or by immediately finding a new problem. This cycle isn't malicious in its intent, but it is devastating in its effect on your energy. This constant emotional dumping also leverages the power of emotional contagion. Human beings are naturally wired to mirror the emotions of those around. When someone repeatedly shares their negative emotions, you, as an empathetic individual, unconsciously begin to absorb and mirror those feelings. You start to feel their stress, their sadness, their anger. Even though these emotions are not organically yours, your nervous system is working overtime, trying to process and soothe emotions that are not yours to carry. The invisible aspect lies in how subtle. It is not a direct demand for your energy. It is an unspoken expectation that you will engage with their perpetual narrative of woe. You might feel a profound sense of guilt if you try to disengage or shift the conversation. They might subtly imply that you are uncaring or unsupportive if you don't fully immerse yourself in their emotional landscape. This creates a psychological trap. You feel obligated to listen, to care. The impact on your mental state is significant. Prolonged exposure to this dynamic can lead to empathy fatigue, where your capacity for compassion becomes strained and depleted. You might start to feel cynical, irritable, or emotionally numb. In severe cases, it can even lead to secondary trauma, where you experience symptoms similar to those who have directly experienced trauma, simply from absorbing your own capacity for joy, creativity, and presence diminishes as your inner reservoir of energy is constantly tapped. So how do we apply this understanding to real life? How do we protect ourselves from becoming an emotional dumping ground while still maintaining our compassion? The key is to differentiate between genuine support and enabling, and to set clear energetic and verbal boundaries. Firstly, practice strategic empathy is crucial, but it doesn't mean becoming an emotional sponge. True empathy is understanding and acknowledging another's feelings without taking them on as your own. You can say, "I hear how difficult this is for you," without immediately offering solutions or trying to fix it. Recognize that their emotional process is theirs, not yours. You are a witness, not a participant in their drama. Before engaging, mentally visualize a shield around yourself, a boundary that allows compassion to flow outward, but prevents negative energy from penetrating inward. This might sound abstract, but it's a powerful mental exercise. Imagine your energy as a finite resource, a precious liquid within you. When someone is dumping, consciously choose not to let your container become porous. Thirdly, this is where you gently but firmly redirect the conversation or set limits. Instead of offering solutions, which they will likely reject, try the reflective question technique. When they present a problem, ask, What have you considered doing about this? Or what outcome are you hoping for by telling me this? These questions subtly shift the locus of control back to them and encourage self-reflection rather than another approach is to express your capacity. I hear you, and it sounds incredibly challenging. My plate is quite full right now, but I trust you'll find a way forward. Or, if you need to disengage, I am so sorry you are going through this. I need to get back to X, but I hope things improve for you. This isn't coldness, it is self-preservation, remember. You can be a source of support without protecting it allows you to truly be there for yourself, and for those who genuinely seek a reciprocal exchange of care and connection. This strategy is not about abandoning those in need, but about consciously choosing how you engage, ensuring that your well-being isn't sacrificed in the process. It is about empowering them to find their own solutions, rather than perpetuating their dependence on your emotional labor. By gently refusing to play the rescuer role in the drama triangle, you disrupt the dynamic and open up the possibility for a healthier interaction, where they may eventually be compelled to step into their own agency. This shift in your behavior can be a profound catalyst, not just for your own well-being, but potentially for theirs as well, by subtly signaling that their usual patterns will no longer yield the same results from you. Listen with your whole heart, but protect your whole self. Recognize when the narrative of woe is serving as a demand for your energy rather than a genuine call for reciprocal support. Your energy is not a commodity to be exploited, but a precious resource to be cherished and shared with wisdom. This awareness is the first step towards creating boundaries that truly serve your highest good and foster more balance. And if you are finding this insight valuable, if it is sparking an aha moment within you, please take a quick second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more vital psychological insights to light, empowering a community of thoughtful individuals like yourself to navigate the complexities of life with greater wisdom and peace. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Now, let's move on to our second. It is about those interactions where you feel like a mere spectator in your own life's narrative, perpetually struggling to be heard or acknowledged. Have you ever felt like you are constantly fighting for airtime in a conversation, or that every story you share, every experience you recount, is swiftly overshadowed, topped, or redirected back to the other person? You begin to speak, perhaps sharing a personal anecdote or an interesting observation, only to be interrupted. The topic deftly shifted, or your experience immediately one-upped by a similar yet seemingly grander story from their own life. You leave these interactions feeling not only unheard but curiously diminished, as if your very presence was merely a prompt for another's performance. This feeling of being consistently marginalized in dialogue, of your contributions being minimized or outright ignored, is the second invisible sign of an energy vampire, faithy conversational dominator, who steals your attention and your voice. Asterisk, asterisk, this isn't just about someone who talks a lot. It is about a fundamental lack of reciprocity in the exchange, where the conversation becomes a stage for one. Let's dive deeper into the psychology behind this pervasive pattern. This behavior often stems from underlying narcissistic traits, a profound need for external validation, and an underdeveloped sense of empathy. For individuals who exhibit these traits, conversation isn't a collaborative dance of ideas and experiences. It is a vehicle for self-affirmation. They need to be at the center of attention. This isn't necessarily a conscious, malicious intent, but rather a deeply ingrained survival mechanism, often rooted in insecurity. Their internal well of self-worth is shallow, and they constantly require external sources, primarily your attention and admiration, to feel significant. They might have a covert narcissistic streak, where their need for attention is less about grandiosity and more about a quiet, persistent hijacking of the emotional landscape, ensuring that all focus eventually funnels back to them. The aha moment here is realizing that their conversational dominance isn't a reflection of your unworthiness to speak, but a manifestation of their own deep-seated need to control the narrative, and they use the conversation as a means to regulate their own internal state, often at the expense of yours. Their lack of genuine interest in your contributions is not a personal slight. It is an inability to truly see beyond their own needs and perspectives. They operate with a one-way mirror, seeing themselves reflected, but not truly seeing you. This one-upmanship is particularly insidious. You mention a fascinating trip you took, and they interject with tales of their globe, trotting adventures, making your experience seem mundane by comparison. This isn't an attempt to relate, it is an attempt to dominate and diminish. It's a subtle power play, designed to ensure they always hold the conversational upper hand. The psychological impact on you, the listener, is profound. Your self-worth can take a hit, as your stories and experiences are consistently minimized or overshadowed. You might start to question the value of your own contributions, leading to a reluctance to share, a withdrawal from engaging, or even a sense of resentment. The joy of connection, of mutual sharing and understanding, is replaced by a feeling of being an audience member rather than an equal participant. This can lead to this invisible sign also manifests through the constant interruption or redirection of topics. You might notice that when you speak, their eyes might glaze over, or they might visibly be waiting for their turn to speak, rather than actively listening. As soon as there is a pause, or even before, they seize the opportunity to pivot the conversation back to their preferred subject, Faye, themselves. They may even subtly dismiss your point with a quick So how do we apply this understanding and protect our voice and our space in these interactions? The key is to reclaim your conversational agency without resorting to their tactics. Firstly, Faye, practice assertive communication, Faye. This means gently but firmly interrupting an interruption. You might say, "Excuse me, I wasn't finished," or "Could I just complete my thought before we move on?" Your voice deserves to be heard. Secondly, Faye, set mental or verbal time limits, Faye. When you notice the conversation becoming a monologue, mentally set a timer. After a reasonable period, gently interject to redirect. You can say, "That is interesting. I wanted to tell you about X," or "Thank you for sharing that. I actually had something similar happen." The goal isn't to one-up. Thirdly, Faye, utilize the spotlight shift technique, Faye. When they finish a lengthy monologue, instead of directly engaging with their narrative, you can shift the focus. For example, "That reminds me of an experience I had," or "Speaking of that, I was wondering about." This is about redirecting the conversational energy, rather than just absorbing it. You can also ask them a question about Faye or Faye life. Fourthly, Faye, practice strategic silence, Faye, sometimes. The best response to a conversational dominator is to simply not engage in their performance. If they are expecting you to fill the silence or applaud their latest self-aggrandizing story, try letting the silence hang. This can sometimes make them uncomfortable and break their pattern, or at least you won't be actively contributing to their energy drain. Last, recognize that your worth and the validity of your experiences are not dependent on whether someone else acknowledges them. Their inability to listen or engage reciprocally is a reflection of their internal landscape, not a judgment on yours. Remind yourself that your stories are valuable, your voice matters, and your experiences are worthy of being shared and heard, even if that particular individual isn't capable of. This isn't about being rude or combative. It is about honoring your own presence and setting a standard for respectful reciprocal communication. You are not obligated to be an endless audience for someone else's performance. By consciously asserting your right to participate equally in conversation, you reclaim your energy and foster interactions that are genuinely enriching rather than depleting. You are an active participant in your relationships. This proactive stance ensures that your voice, your insights, and your very being are respected, allowing you to flourish in your interactions rather than shrink. This mindful approach transforms how you engage, allowing you to nurture relationships that are built on mutual respect and genuine exchange, not just one-sided consumption. It means recognizing that your time and attention are valuable commodities, and you have the right to invest them where they are reciprocated, where your presence is genuinely valued, and where your voice is given the space it deserves to be heard. This is a profound act of self-respect, an affirmation that your energy is not just for others to take, but for you to carefully steward and share with those who truly honor your participation. And now, let's explore our third invisible sign, one that often leaves you feeling disoriented, confused, and perpetually on edge without a clear reason why. It's the subtle erosion of trust and emotional safety through veiled tactics, where direct conflict is avoided, yet emotional damage is consistently inflicted. Have you ever left an interaction feeling inexplicably guilty, vaguely criticized, or just generally off, but you couldn't pinpoint exactly what happened? You might have received a compliment that felt more like a backhanded jab, or an offer of help that came with an implied obligation you never agreed to. Perhaps you've been subjected to a sudden withdrawal of affection or communication, leaving you wondering what you did wrong. Even with this pervasive sense of unease, doubt, and subtle manipulation, where the aggressor rarely takes direct responsibility, is the third invisible sign of an energy vampire, faithy, passive, aggressive manipulator who creates emotional confusion and instills self-doubt. Asterisk, this isn't about overt hostility. It's about a covert form of control, where discomfort and negative emotions are skillfully outsourced to you, making you the one who feels responsible for the tension, the problem, or the perceived offense. Let's unravel the intricate psychology behind this often frustrating pattern. At its root, passive aggression is a manifestation of unexpressed anger, fear of direct conflict, and a profound inability to communicate needs and feelings openly and honestly. The individual fears confrontation and the potential consequences of direct emotional expression. Instead, they choose indirect methods to express their resentment, to punish, or to exert control. This can stem from a variety of factors: childhood experiences where direct anger was punished, a lack of communication skills, or a desire to avoid responsibility for their feelings. The aha moment here is recognizing that their behavior isn't about you being inherently flawed. It is about their inability to directly engage with their own difficult emotions and communicate them constructively. They project their internal conflict onto the external world, specifically onto you, making you responsible for their unresolved issues. One of the most insidious forms of this energy drain is subtle gaslighting. While often associated with overt manipulation, passive-aggressive individuals can use mild forms of gaslighting to make you doubt your own perceptions. They might deny saying something you clearly remember, feign forgetfulness about. This isn't about grand, elaborate schemes. It's about a consistent, low-level erosion of your trust in your own reality, leaving you constantly questioning yourself. Think about the backhanded compliment, "You look so good today, I can barely tell you are tired," or the helpful suggestion that subtly undermines your efforts. "Oh, you are doing it that way. I guess it works for some people." These statements carry a hidden sting designed to deliver a dose of criticism or superiority while maintaining a veneer of politeness or concern. The silent treatment or sudden withdrawal is another classic passive-aggressive tactic. Instead of voicing their displeasure or hurt, they shut down, leaving you to agonize over what you might have done wrong. This withdrawal is a powerful form of punishment and control, forcing you into a position of desperately seeking their approval or trying to fix an unknown problem. They are essentially saying, "You hurt me, and I am punishing you by withholding my presence-fey affection, but I won't tell you why, so you'll have to suffer in uncertainty and guess." This creates immense emotional labor for you as you try to decipher their unspoken. They also frequently use guilt, tripping, or implied obligations. They might drop hints about their sacrifices or difficulties, subtly making you feel responsible for their well-being or obligated to fulfill unspoken expectations. "Oh, I really wanted to go to that event, but I guess I'll just stay home by myself tonight," knowing full well you had plans. This isn't a direct request. It is a manipulation designed to make you feel guilty enough to change your plans to accommodate them. The psychological impact on you is a profound sense of confusion, guilt, and perpetual anxiety. You walk on eggshells, constantly trying to anticipate their unspoken needs or avoid their subtle disapproval. Your emotional safety is compromised because you can't trust what they say or what. This leads to chronic stress, self-doubt, and a feeling that you are never quite good enough. Your ability to form healthy, direct relationships is hindered as you unconsciously begin to expect these subtle manipulations in all your interactions. Your own authentic expression might diminish as you become afraid of triggering their indirect wrath. So how do we apply this understanding and protect ourselves from the insidious nature? The key is to bring clarity to their ambiguity and refuse to engage in their mind games. Firstly, asterisk, asterisk.